Okay. I'll wait for a little bit for people to get on. Okay, where are we? Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Storytime Live with Srta Pikula. I hope that you are having a great Wednesday. And thank you for your patience. I was trying to get this up and wasn't working, but it's all good now. Okay, so hi. We're gonna have Wednesday shout out. Today I'm gonna give a shout out to Espen. Because Espen is probably one of the most enthusiastic people I have ever met in my life. And he is so enthusiastic and lively and just has such joy and energy. And it gives me joy and energy. And whatever we talk about, we can talk about anything under the sun. And he is just so excited and lively about it. So thanks for giving me energy and making me smile, Espen. Shout out to Espen. We're going to recap today on what we read about last time in Prince Caspian. So they were traveling in the forest and they were lost because that's what happens when you're in a thick forest. You think you have a path and then you don't. And anyways, they're walking along, kind of bickering about where they should go. And all of a sudden, Lucy was like, look. And she said what she saw. She's like, it's Aslan. I saw a lion. But no one else saw Aslan. And so they didn't believe her. But she's like, look, I saw him. I can tell you I saw him. Trumpkin thought maybe it was a wild lion, but we know from other things that Trumpkin has said that Trumpkin doesn't believe a lot of the old stories about old Narnia, and he doesn't really believe in Aslan. And then he said, well, you gotta look, we gotta go up. I just know inside of me that he wants us to go up the gorge, not down the gorge. And then they voted, and everyone was sitting there and they all voted, most of them voted for going down because it just seemed more realistic to go down. And Edmund said something very profound, very important. He said, I know that it looks like we should go down, but the first time we came to Narnia, I didn't believe Lucy. None of us believed her, and I was the worst of everyone. Yet she was right, and she was telling the truth. So don't you think we should believe her this time? And so he voted for Lucy to go up, I mean. But then everyone else voted to go down, including Peter. So they all were going down. Lucy was very, very sad, and they were traveling for a very long time in hopeless brambles and thickets, and they were trying to get there and going down. But then all of a sudden, as they were traveling, all of a sudden, whiz, they were being shot at by arrows, and they realized that they had just run into a campsite, one of the campsites of Miraz's men. And they realized, oh no, like we gotta get to Caspian. Like Miraz's men are invading everywhere. So they had to retrace their steps and go all the way back up. So they realized after all that time, and Lucy, being quite good-tempered, said, maybe we should go up now. And Peter said, man, Lucy, that's the closest you come today to saying I told you so. Let's go up now. So now they're going to start going up and hopefully finding their way, but let's see. There is no need to describe how they toiled back up the gorge. It was pretty hard work, but oddly enough, everyone felt more cheerful. They were getting their second wind, and the word supper had a wonderful effect. They reached the fir wood, which had caused them so much trouble while it was still daylight, and the camped in just a hollow just above it. It was tedious gathering the firewood. But it was grand when the fire blazed up and they began producing the damp and smeary parcels of bear meat, which would have been so very unattractive to anyone who had spent the day indoors. The dwarf had splendid ideas of, of about cookery. Each apple, they still had a few of these, was wrapped up in bear meat, as if it had been an apple dumpling with meat instead of a pastry, but only much thicker, and spiked on a sharp stick and then roasted. And the juice of the apple worked all through the meat like applesauce with roast pork. Bear that had lived too much on other animals is not very nice, but a bear that has had plenty of honey and fruit is excellent. And this turned out to be the sort of bear. It was a truly glorious meal. And of course, no washing up, only lying back and watching the smoke from Trumpkin's pipe and stretching one's tired legs and chatting. Everyone felt quite hopeful now about finding King Caspian tomorrow and defeating Miraz in a few days. It may not have been sensible for them to feel like this, but they did. They dropped off to sleep one by one, but all pretty quickly. Lucy woke out of the deepest sleep you can imagine with a feeling that the voice she liked best in the world had been calling her name. She thought at first that it was her father's voice, but that didn't seem quite right. Then she thought it was Peter's voice, but that did not seem to fit either. She did not want to get up, not because she was still tired. On the contrary, she was wonderfully rested and all the aches had gone from her bones. But she felt so extremely happy and comfortable. She was looking straight up at the Narnian moon, which is larger than our moon, and at the starry sky, for the place where they had camped was comparatively open. Lucy, came the call again, neither her father's nor voice nor Peter's. She sat up trembling with excitement, but not with fear. The moon was so bright that the whole forest landscape around her was almost as clear as day, though it looked wilder. Behind her was the firwood. Away to her right, the jagged cliff tops on the far side of the gorge. Straight ahead, open grass where a glade of trees began about a bow shot away. She looked very hard at the trees of that glade. Why, I do believe they're moving, she said to herself. They're walking about. She got up, her heart beating wildly, and walked towards them. There was certainly a noise in the glade, a noise such as trees make in a high wind, though there was no wind tonight. Yet it was not exactly an ordinary tree noise either. Lucy felt sure that there was a tune in it, but she could not catch the tune any more than she had been able to catch the words when the trees had so nearly talked to her the night before. But there was at least a lilt. She felt her own feet wanting to dance as she got nearer. And now there was no doubt that the trees were really moving, moving in and moving out through one another, as if in a complicated country dance. And I suppose, thought Lucy, when trees dance, it must be a very, very country dance indeed. She was almost among them now. The first tree she looked at seemed at first glance not be a tree at all, but a huge man with a shaggy beard and great bushes of hair. She was not frightened. She had seen such things before. But when she looked again, he was only a tree, though he was still moving. You couldn't see whether he had feet or roots, of course, because when trees move, they don't walk on the surface of the earth. They wade in it as we do in water. The same thing happened with every tree she looked at. At one moment, they seemed to be friendly, lovely giant and giantess forms, which the tree people put on when some good magic has called them into full life. The next moment, they all looked like trees again. But when they looked like trees, it was like strangely human trees. And when they looked like people, it was strangely branchy and leafy people. And all that time, the strange lilting, rustling, cool, merry noise. They're almost awake, but not quite, said Lucy. She herself was wide awake, wider than anyone usually is. She went fearlessly among them, dancing herself as she leapt this way and that to avoid being run into by these huge partners. But she was only half interested in them, She wanted to get beyond them to something else. It was from beyond them that the dear voice had called. She soon got through them, half wondering whether she had been using her arms to push branches aside or to take hands in the great chain of big dancers who stooped to reach her, for they were really a ring of trees around a central open place. She stepped out from among their shifting confusion of lovely lights and shadows. A circle of grass, smooth as a lawn, met her eyes, with dark trees dancing all around it. And oh, and then, oh joy! For he was there, the huge lion, shining white in the moonlight with his huge black shadow underneath him. But for the movement of his tail, he might have been a stone lion. But Lucy never thought of that. She never sat to think whether he was a friendly lion or not. She rushed to him. She felt her heart would burst if she lost a moment. And the next thing what she knew was that she was kissing him and putting her arms as far around his neck as she could and burying her face in the rich, beautiful silkiness of his mane. Aslan, Aslan, dear Aslan, sobbed Lucy, at last. The great beast rolled over on his side, so Lucy fell, half sitting and half lying between his front paws. He bent forward and he just touched her nose with his tongue. His warm breath came all around her. She gazed up into the large, wise face. Welcome, child, he said. Aslan, said Lucy, you're bigger. That is because you are older, little one, answered he. Not because you are? I am not. But every year you grow, you will find me bigger. For a time she was so happy that she did not want to speak. But Aslan spoke. Lucy, he said, we must not lie here for long. You have work in hand, and much time has been lost today. Yes, wasn't it a shame? Said Lucy. I saw you all right. They wouldn't believe me. They're all so. From somewhere deep inside Aslan's body, there came the faintest suggestion of a growl. I'm sorry, said Lucy, who understood some of his moods. I didn't mean to start slanging the others, but it wasn't my fault anyway, was it? The lion looked straight into her eyes. Oh, Aslan, said Lucy, you don't mean it was. How could I? I couldn't have left the others and come up to you alone. How could I? Don't don't look at me like that. Oh, well, I suppose I could have. Yes, and it wouldn't have been alone, I know, not if I was with you. But what would have that been? Of what good would that have been? Aslan said nothing. You mean, said Lucy rather faintly, that it would have turned out all right? Somehow? But how? Oh, please, Aslan, am I not to know? To know what would have happened, child? Said Aslan. No, nobody is ever told that. Oh dear, said Lucy. But anyone can find out what will happen, said Aslan. If you go back to the others now and wake them up and tell them that you have seen me again and that you must all get up at once and follow me, what will happen? There is only one way of finding out. You mean that it is what you want me to do? Gasped Lucy. Yes, little one, said Aslan. Will the others see you too? Asked Lucy. Certainly not at first, said Aslan. Later on, it depends. But they won't believe me, said Lucy. It doesn't matter, said Aslan. Oh dear, said Lucy, and I was so pleased at finding you again, and then I thought you'd let me stay, and I thought you'd come roaring in and frightening all the enemies away like the last time, and now everything is going to be horrid. It is hard for you, little one, said Aslan, but things never happen the same way twice. It has been hard for us all in Narnia before now. Lucy buried her head in his mane to hide from his face, but there must have been magic in his mane. She could feel lion strength going into her. Quite suddenly, she sat up. I'm sorry, Aslan, she said. I am ready now. Now you are a lioness, said Aslan, and now all Narnia will be renewed. But come, we have no time to lose. He got up and walked with stately, noiseless paces back to the belt of dancing trees through which she had come. And Lucy went with him, laying rather a tremulous hand on his mane. The trees parted to let them through for 1 second assumed their human forms completely. Lucy had a glimpse of the tall and lovely wood gods and wood goddesses all bowing to Aslan. Next moment, they were trees again, but still bowing, with such sweet, graceful sweeps of branch and trunk that their bowing was itself a kind of dance. Now, child, said Aslan, when they had left the trees behind them, I will wait here. Go and wake the others and tell them to follow. If they will not, then you at least must follow me alone. It is a terrible thing to have to wait for people all older than yourself and all very tired for the purpose of telling them something they probably won't believe and making them do something they certainly won't like. I mustn't think about it. I must just do it, thought Lucy. She went to Peter first and shook him. Peter, she whispered in his ear. Peter, wake up, quick. Aslan is here. He says that we've got to follow him at once. Certainly, Lou. Whatever you like, said Peter unexpectedly. This was encouraging, but as Peter instantly rolled around and went to sleep again, it wasn't much use. And that's where we're going to stop for today. Thanks for joining Storytime. I hope that you enjoyed it. And this is nice, in times like this, I'm glad. I wanted to tell you all that as much as I want to be in person, I'm so glad I get to see your faces every other day this week, because I miss all of you, and I'm just glad that I get to see your faces. So I wanted to tell you that. I hope that you have a fantastic Wednesday, and see you tomorrow for story time.